What's up guys? Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Morgan. I make videos talking about my career change to UX design, how you can change your career to UX design as well, and the pain of existence. So if that kind of content interests you, please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel out, helps me out a lot. I'm saving for a house and I need to get monetized soon. So today I'm going to talk about a question that I get often. I know that I say that a lot, but you guys ask a lot of questions. Did my UX design bootcamp, for those of you who don't know, I became a UX designer through Career Foundry's bootcamp. Did it actually get me a job? It's a complicated question with a complicated answer. So as usual, it depends. First, I do want to say that if you're interested in doing a UX design bootcamp or a bootcamp to get into the tech industry in general, I really recommend checking out Career Foundry. That is the bootcamp that I did. I have a 5% discount code in the description. If you use that, you get 5% off of whatever bootcamp that you do or whatever program. And of course, it helps me out. I do get commission from that. I also have an affiliate link with Springboard where you can get $1,000 off one of their bootcamps. I really recommend checking out Career Foundry and Springboard. They're both very good options. Make sure that it matches your learning style. Look outside of those, find what works for you. Make sure that it matches your learning style, that the pace is what you need, and then any other features. I believe that they both have job guarantees, which is great. It's one of the reasons I signed up for Career Foundry. And what that means is that if you don't get a job within a certain amount of time, then you get your money back. So good options, check the description. And if you decide to sign up, please make sure to use one of my links. It helps me out a lot. So is Career Foundry the reason I got a job? Yes. Would I have gotten a job without Career Foundry? No. Was Career Foundry the only reason I got a job? No, of course not. There's never like one reason for getting a job, unless it's something like nepotism, where it's like, yeah, the only reason you got that job is because your dad owns the company, then yeah, like that's the case. But it's just like with college, you know? If you get a college degree and you need a bachelor's degree to get a job, then is the degree the only reason that you got the job? No, of course not. A lot of people have degrees and they can't get a job at all. Not trying to throw shade, that's a lot of people. But would you be able to get a job without a degree in the field that you studied? Probably not. You're probably going to need that bachelor's degree because it shows that you have some, basic education and knowledge in that industry. So what about Career Foundry did help me get a job? First of all, of course, it was the education. Career Foundry really matched my learning style. I needed something that was self-paced. I was working at the time, and I don't do great under pressure like that. If I had done something like General Assembly, I believe that's much faster paced. With my mental state at the time, I was not doing well. I was pretty depressed and anxious during the pandemic, which is when I did my career change. I honestly think that I would have crumbled under the pressure. I would have not been motivated by the deadlines and how fast-paced it is. So Career Foundry was self-paced. I was able to learn on my own time. There were times where I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And I went through 5 lessons at a time. And then there were times that I was not doing great mentally and I had to take some time off. I got into a rhythm once I really started learning. Once I got past the intro course, I was really into it. So the education, it matched my learning style. So that's really important. I really recommend when you're looking for a boot camp of your own or doing any kind of education, look at reviews, make sure it's what you actually need. Another reason I picked Career Foundry was the price. It was affordable. I paid at the time, I believe, around $5,500 because I got a scholarship for calling one of their advisors, and then I actually used another YouTuber's 5% discount code on top of that. So make sure to use mine. But you also have to weigh that for yourself. Does the cost matter more than the learning style? Because if you're not a person who can do self-paced, you don't have the discipline to learn on your own without people checking in on you or forcing you into a lecture, you might want to do something that's more expensive. And I'm completely against financing things, but if it's an investment in yourself and you're really after getting this job, then I think you have to really do some analysis on your life of what your priorities are. I do think that choosing a boot camp or some sort of education for UX design that works with your learning style is more important than the cost. If you're going to spend $7,500 but self-paced is not your learning style, you just wasted $7,500. Either save up for the boot camp that you really want to do, or the higher education that you really want to do, or whatever, do it for free. That's fantastic. Whatever it is that you need to do, just make sure that you're going to get a return on your investment. That is the main thing. All right, so small rant. So Career Foundry, a way that it helped me get a job was obviously teaching me UX design. They showed me the foundations. They also showed me the boring stuff. So things like documentation, which really, really, really matters. They also talk about a lean, agile workplace, which is very common in the tech industry. So that's really valuable information, because when you're going into interviews, you're not just being interviewed based on your UX design skills. You're being interviewed on how would you be as an employee? Do you fit in with the team? Do you understand how we work? That kind of stuff. So even though you don't need to be an expert in those things, having basic knowledge is really, really valuable, and it did help me in interviews. Another reason Career Foundry helped me was because it was asynchronous learning. I was able to go back to the lessons when I was doing case studies on my own after the boot camp. So I was able to still have a point of reference. I was able to see other student examples. I was able to see the feedback on the project that I had done. So that was really helpful when I was trying to put together a portfolio that ultimately got me my job. Another great thing is the community. I didn't join the Slack community until very late, I think after I graduated from the UX immersion course for Career Foundry, and I really wish I had joined sooner. I was dealing with a lot of imposter syndrome, and I didn't want to talk to anybody about my journey. I didn't want anyone to know that, I wasn't able to get a job in 2 weeks and I was struggling with some concepts and I wasn't feeling good about myself. I joined the Slack community, and it's really helpful. It's a networking tool. So people, I handed off jobs that I was offered, but I didn't have the time to do because I was, pursuing a full-time job. I didn't want a contract position. So I posted in there hey, anybody who wants this. So, that could have been you, could have been me if I had joined sooner. Also things like I did a design jam and I needed a partner, so I used that Slack community to find myself a partner. We lost horribly, but it got me a great portfolio piece that I put into my portfolio presentation to show how I worked in a team. So great networking tool. You can work with other designers, or you can maybe even find developers through Career Foundry and maybe work on a project together. And that would, of course, help you get a job, because getting that experience working with other people is important. As I previously stated, they're not just interviewing you based on tactical UX design skills. How are you going to be as an employee? Are you going to be able to communicate with developers? Are you going to be able to communicate with other designers? How do you just work in general? Are you a dick? It's important stuff to learn. So as I said earlier, Career Foundry also has a job guarantee. Well, I did not do it. They have a job prep course that you need to finish in order to get the job guarantee. You have to go through a full process. I didn't do it. Looking back, I wish I had. I wish I had completed the full program and really gotten out of it what I paid for. I wouldn't change anything because I love the company I'm at. I love the job that I have. I feel like I'm doing really well. But to the people who are going into a boot camp or are currently in a boot camp, I really recommend you do that job prep course. It was really stupid of me not to. Do what you got to do to get that job guarantee, because you're either going to end up with a job or you're going to end up with your money back, but also the certification and the education. So make sure to actually take full advantage of what you're paying for. So what else helped me get hired? Of course, Career Foundry is a huge factor into how I was able to land a job. There are other things that needed to happen. I can't just graduate from a boot camp with a portfolio that looks like everybody else's and just start applying for jobs. So what else did I do? I did projects outside of Career Foundry. I did my best to show my growth as a designer throughout my projects, and I did a lot of experiments, basically. I was trying out different things, really trying to learn about myself as a designer. A lot of my projects were disasters, and they're embarrassing to look back on. I just put out a video roasting my very first case study that has the case study that I did in my boot camp. Portfolio pieces aren't just things for your portfolio. They are learning experiences, and that's very important. I feel like a lot of portfolio pieces You see it's just people going through the motions. They have a template of the design process and they just go through it without having any real reasoning. So I really advise you, if you want to get a job, to really get your hands dirty and work on something as if you're really going to launch it. Also, by doing projects outside of my boot camp and getting my hands dirty and really getting frustrated with the process, it can be a frustrating process, especially, when you're still learning. But I did that progressive learning of when I came across a problem, I researched to try and solve that problem and, be really introspective. But it was really important for me to go through that because when I first started interviewing for jobs, they would ask me something like, what is your design process? And then I would just memorize the design process. And it's really embarrassing when you mess up things that you memorize, or you just completely forget what you were going to say. It's really, really embarrassing. And what is an interviewer supposed to do with that? Yeah, you're nervous, but they don't know what your personal design process is. After I knocked out a few projects, I was able to actually have a conversation, and I was like, the design process, it depends. It's different every time based on what the project needs. You start to get through the phases of user research and you find out that your hypothesis is completely wrong, so you've got to go back to the drawing board, or you have to choose a new target market, or you're solving the wrong problem with your solution, or your solution is useless and you have to completely change everything. So actually going through those growing pains of going through real design projects, it's really, really valuable in the interview process. And when you do that, you also sort of build a story, and that's really important when you're doing your portfolio presentation. If you just list so I did this, and then I did this, and then I interviewed someone, and then they said this, and these were the results of the survey, that's not interesting. What's interesting is going through a project and being yeah, these are the real life things that caused problems in the project or that made the project wildly successful, and this is how we know it was successful, or it didn't meet our expectations, but this is what we plan to do next, that kind of stuff. I also really tried to just get as much experience as possible, so I also reached out to small businesses, did some really terrible website designs for them, and then I also did a design jam, as I mentioned earlier, and that got me that sort of teamwork experience I needed for my portfolio presentation. All very valuable things. You should be trying to get as much real-world experience as possible. It can be difficult, but you've got to try. And then lastly, I treated the interview process like a UX designer. So I did the thing, I did the interview, gathered data from that, asked for feedback, took notes of what I could have done better, where I think things might have fallen flat, what I did well, and just always trying to get feedback from people. And then I would adjust, be okay, they were asking me a lot of questions about this, so maybe I should focus on this for my next project, or maybe I need to learn more about this, or why did I make that decision in my case study? I guess there's not really a real reason, I should take that out. That type of thing. So adjusting your portfolio presentation, adjusting the way that you interview, adjusting your portfolio, adjusting your resume, you'll learn over time, what do these people actually care about? I had a lot of fluff originally. I had a lot of fluff in my resume, stuff that did not matter, just to try and fill it out. And let me tell you, all it did was make my resume a mess, and it made me look wildly unfocused. Same thing with my case studies. Whatever education that you choose, make sure that the learning style works for you. That is the most important thing when choosing an education style. I feel like that shouldn't need to be said, but it does need to be said because people get so caught up in things like, well, does a General Assembly certification, does it matter to people more than a Career Foundry one? Does a boot camp certification from an accredited university, is that more impressive? Just pick the learning style that works for you, and then the thing that you can afford. So those are decisions for you to make. I get a lot of questions from people who want me to make life decisions for them. I can't. If you guys have specific questions that might help you make a decision on what you want to do, leave them in the comments and I'll respond to you and or make a video about it. So learning style that works, get hands-on experience, network, use your learning community to network, and act like a UX designer. The best way to get over imposter syndrome is fake confidence. Make being a UX designer your entire personality, at least for a little bit. I hope that this helped you guys out. Let me know what you guys end up doing. If you're in a boot camp, if you're self-teaching, if you're in school, if you haven't decided yet, I would really like to know where and how and when people are learning. We talk about me all the time. We don't talk about you guys, and I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also check out those links in the description. All of that helps me out so much. It would really help in supporting me. Your girl is trying to buy a house, so thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.